Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about what was probably the second most talked about part of Brad Wilcox's speech last week, which was the topic of women and the priesthood. Now, this aspect of his speech wasn't as talked about as the topic of the priesthood ban on Black people. And I think that's at least partly because there was not one particular sound bite of his talk that summed up the problem of what he was saying, as well as there was with the priesthood ban. So, what I'm going to do is go through a few different snippets of his talk, some of them longer than what I showed last time, in order to get across what I think he was saying and why I think it doesn't work, for me in particular, as a woman who used to be a member of the church.
Yeah, but Brother Wilcox, how come the girls don't have the priesthood? I mean, that's what I want to know. How come the girls don't have the priesthood? What's up with that? Girls, you're going to hear a lot of people say a lot of things, and many of them say them with very angry voices. But just because somebody's angry doesn't necessarily make him or her right. Just because somebody's loud doesn't necessarily make him or her right.
So there are two things about what he just said that I want to comment on. The first is that he is correct, that it doesn't necessarily mean that someone is right just because they are loud or angry. However, it also doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong. You have to look at what they're saying independent of their emotion or their volume in order to determine whether what they're saying is based on reality and something that we should pay attention to or not. The other thing I would like to point out is that he tries to keep the focus of the messaging that he says these girls are going to receive external. Because what he doesn't want to acknowledge is that many, if not most, women within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at some point will feel that the situation with them not having the priesthood is unfair. But he has to keep the focus external. He has to say, you're going to hear a lot of voices from other people telling you that this is unfair. He can't say, you're going to feel yourself that this is unfair, because the minute he acknowledges that they might themselves feel that way, then he'd have to tell them, you should ignore how you're feeling. And the church doesn't want to step into the pattern of telling people they should ignore how they're feeling, because their whole system for people to gain testimony is based on people accepting what they feel and taking it as a sign that the church is true. So they can't tell these girls or these women to pay attention to what they're feeling. They have to steer the conversation in the direction of othering other people who are saying this, so that when girls or women have this feeling in their own hearts, in their own minds, they'll start to doubt what they are feeling themselves.
I was at a professional conference for BYU. I had a name tag. It said Brad Wilcox, Brigham Young University. Some lady walked up to me that I didn't even know. She sees my name tag and she's like, oh, why don't you give women the priesthood? Just like that. And I said, good to meet you too. And then I asked, what's the priesthood? And she said, well, I don't know, but I think the women should have it. Seriously? I don't know, but the women should have it. What's malaria? I don't know, but the women should have it. I mean, I'm going to let her voice that's very shallow drown out my testimony just because she's loud? No way.
So now I have a couple things to say about that story. First of all, he picked an interaction with the woman who knew less about the situation than he did in order to make it sound like those who are arguing against the inequality of men and women in the church are arguing out of ignorance, because she clearly didn't know as much about the priesthood as he did. However, most people, most women who are upset about women not having the priesthood actually do know quite a bit about the priesthood and what it represents. Furthermore, even that woman knew enough to know that the priesthood was desirable, that it was worth having. She knew it wasn't malaria. So that was a complete mischaracterization even of that situation. And it's all very well to say, oh, her voice was shallow. Well, what about the women who actually know what it's like to be in the church without the priesthood? Are their voices shallow too? You've got to look at the strongest position in the opposing argument and see if you can defeat it before you can walk away saying, oh, I've defeated it. Not doing that is called a straw man. You've defeated a straw man, Brother Wilcox.
Girls, listen closely, because I don't know that you'll ever have somebody explain it quite this point blank again. You have access to every priesthood blessing. There is not one priesthood blessing that you are denied.
So that is a common justification for not giving women the priesthood, that the priesthood is primarily used to help others. It's used to perform ordinances and give blessings. And those ordinances and blessings are primarily for other people. I say primarily for other people because I believe someone can bless the sacrament and then eat it themselves or partake of it themselves. So therefore, in that case, it would be self-serving to do that. However, in the vast majority of cases, those ordinances are for other people, and those blessings are definitely for other people. So that is the justification for not giving everyone the priesthood, because everyone can benefit from only a portion of the membership having the priesthood. However, because women can't give blessings to other people, priesthood blessings to other people, that means that the children of single mothers are in a bad position compared to children with fathers in the home, even more so than they would be otherwise, because they don't have someone with priesthood in the home, and there's no way to get someone with priesthood in the home. And that unfairly hurts the children of single mothers. It's just wrong.
And you serve with priesthood authority. When you are set apart in a class presidency, or you're set apart as a missionary, or in any calling in the church, you serve with priesthood authority. You will go to temples where you will be endowed with priesthood power, and you will dress in priesthood robes.
Okay, so you're saying that we will be endowed with priesthood power. However, what does that priesthood power allow us to do that we couldn't do before? Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. There's nothing that we gain in terms of functional, real power from being endowed with priesthood power in the endowment.
How come the girls don't have the priesthood? What the heck are they talking about? Your life exudes priesthood. It's surrounded by priesthood. It emanates priesthood. So what is it that women don't have? Two things. One, priesthood keys, and two, priesthood ordination.
Actually, there are three things that women don't have. One of them can be listed as priesthood keys, but what that really means is the potential to have authority over men. Women do not have that in the church. Women cannot have authority over men, and women are always under the authority of men. That is how the church structure works. So that is the first thing that women don't have, is equality of position. The second thing that women don't have is the ability to give blessings And the third thing that women don't have is the ability to perform the vast majority of ordinances in the church.
Well, how come women don't have priesthood keys? Well, how come most men in the church don't have priesthood keys? Priesthood keys are an organizational structure. It's how God's house is a house of order. And so not everybody needs them, just those who are part of this organizational structure. So how many men in a ward have priesthood keys? The Spirit is whispering. The Spirit is whispering. Oh, you knew it. You knew it. I'm so proud of you. Let's name them. The bishop, the elders quorum president, the teachers quorum president, and the deacons quorum president. So girls, don't mix keys up with influence. We're certainly not saying the only ones who have influence in the church are the bishop, the elders quorum president, the teachers quorum president, and the deacons quorum president. Surely there are others at all levels of the church who have great influence without having keys. So don't mix those up. Don't think that that's something that's needed to be able to make a difference.
Brother Wilcox, do not mix up second-hand influence with first-hand power. Those two things are completely different. Women are used to having most of their influence in the world coming secondhand. They are used to that. But that doesn't mean that they should never, ever have firsthand power ever. And that is the way the church is set up, that they should never, ever have firsthand power ever, unlike men who sometimes have firsthand power. And that is unequal and wrong.
What else don't women have? Priesthood ordination. They're not ordained to the priesthood. Well, how come they're not ordained to the priesthood? Maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe we should be asking, why don't they need to be? Girls, how many of you have ever entered a temple to perform ordinances? Okay, raise your hands high. Raise them high. Okay, do you realize that you have done something that no man on this earth can do? There is not a male on this planet who can enter a temple to perform ordinances without being ordained. And yet you just waltz right in. You walk right in. So what is it that sisters are bringing with them from a premortal life that men are trying to learn through ordination? Maybe that's the question that ought to be keeping us up at night.
Why don't women have priesthood ordination? I'll tell you why they don't. They don't have priesthood ordination because they are so low on the totem pole in the church that anything they can do is not considered important enough to have priesthood ordination there in order to gatekeep it. That is why women do not have priesthood ordination. So that was the last clip I'm going to play. But I am going to say one more thing. The issue with this situation is that men are always in control of women and women are never in control of men. That is the main issue here. And that is the issue that Brother Wilcox does not address. He will never address that issue. And the reason why is because in order to address that issue, he would have to say, sisters, the church is organized in such a way that you will never have authority over men and they will always have authority over you. And that is the way God wants it to be. He won't do that because that would make a lot of people uncomfortable. But what he will say is that he's being blunt, that he's being more blunt than anyone else is likely to be in the church, and then not address that problem. Now, he can believe what he wants. He can believe what he wants. However, I have something to say to him. How dare you say that you're being blunt when you're not? How dare you lie to an entire audience full of people? Anyway, that's all I have to say. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and consider subscribing. I'll probably make another video about other stuff in Brad Wilcox's speech. But until then, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you all next time.